Good morning, children. Today we'll be reading this chapter after 20 years. Try to read it in a similar way with correct pronunciation and write it neatly in the separate notebook you have made for reading and writing masters. Let's start after 20 years. The policeman on the beat moved up the avenue impressively. The impressiveness was habitual and not for show, for spectators were few. The time was barely 10 o'clock at night, but chilly gusts of wind with a taste of rain in them had nearly depeopled the streets. Trying doors as he went, the officer, with his stalwart form and slight swagger, made a fine picture of a guardian of peace. When about midway of a certain block, the policeman suddenly slowed his walk. In the doorway of a darkened hardware store, a man leaned, with an unlighted cigar in his mouth. As the policeman walked up to him, the man spoke up quickly. "It's all right, officer," he said reassuringly. "I'm just waiting for a friend. It's an appointment made 20 years ago. Sounds a little funny to you, doesn't it? Well, I'll explain if you'd like to make certain it's all straight. About that long ago, there used to be a restaurant where this store stands. Big Joe, Brady's restaurant. Until 5 years ago," said the policeman. "It was torn down then." The man in the doorway struck a match and lit his cigar. The light showed a pale, square-jawed face with keen eyes and a little white scar near his right eyebrow. His scarf pin was a large diamond oddly set. "20 years ago tonight," said the man, "I dined here at Big Joe Brady's with Jimmy Wells, my best chum and the finest chap in the world. He and I were raised here in New York just like two brothers together. I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning I was to start for the West to make my fortune. You couldn't have dragged Jimmy out of New York. He thought it was the only place on earth. Well, we agreed that night that we would meet here again exactly 20 years from that date and time, no matter what our conditions might be or from what distance we might have to come." "It sounds pretty interesting," said the policeman. "Haven't you heard from your friends since you left?" "Well, yes. For a time we corresponded," said the other. "But after a year or two we lost track of each other. You see, the West is a pretty big proposition and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy well. Jimmy will meet me here if he is alive, for he always was the truest, staunchest old chap in the world. He'll never forget. I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight, and it's worth it if my old partner turns up." The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch, the lids of it set with small diamonds. 3 minutes to 10, he announced. It was exactly 10 o'clock when we parted here at the restaurant door. "Did pretty well out West, didn't you?" asked the policeman. "You bet. I hope Jimmy has done half as well. He was a kind of plodder, though good fellow as he was. I've had to compete with some of the sharpest wits going to get my pile. A man gets in a groove in New York. It takes the West to put a razor edge on him." The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two. "I'll be on my way. Hope your friend comes around all right. Going to call time on him sharp? So children, we end here.